Hello, everyone. It is Forlorn Scout, your favorite non-schedule keeping, uh, really small, tiny YouTuber. Um, Now, you might be wondering, where have I been? Because I came back, started a new series, released, I think, about 3 episodes. I don't exactly remember offhand. And then I dropped off the map again. So, what happened? Well, the simple answer is I had audio problems. Now, to explain that in a little bit more depth, is I had noticed that the audio quality had changed a little bit in between a couple videos. And so, because there was like a buzzing, I'm sure people could hear it. There's kind of this background buzzing, and the audio didn't sound as good, and I couldn't figure out why that was the case. Um, and so because I had recorded the next episode in the series, and that episode was um, fairly important because it was kind of like the first actual like big pitched battle of the campaign. And I started listening to it, and the buzzing got real bad in that one. And so I tried a lot of different ways to try and fix that because I thought it was just something. At first, I thought it was like the fan because I had a fan going in my room, but then I turned that fan off when I was recording, um, and that didn't change anything. So I started to look into other things that it could possibly be, um, and I wasn't quite sure what it was. Now, going back to the video that I had recorded, the buzzing, or kind of an electrical hum, which is what it is, I believe it's an electrical hum. And essentially, the problem with it is I tried to, for that video, which was about 2 hours long. I haven't fully edited that one yet. At the time of recording this, but it was about 2 hours long. It was a big video. It took a long time to. It took a long time. It took about 2 hours to record, over 2 hours to record everything. But essentially, what happened is I tried multiple things. So for video editing, I use DaVinci Resolve. And that does video and audio. It's a great service. It's free as well. I mean, it has more like paid things, but I'm not paying for that. And so I tried to get rid of the hum. Well, nothing I could do. I'm not an expert video editor, so there's nothing I could really do that would stop the hum. I even downloaded Audacity to see if maybe Audacity could fix the audio, but that again, I'm even less familiar with Audacity, so that didn't work out, and so I got pretty demoralized, honestly. Um, After spending quite a while, I mean, I got busy as well, so that was another reason I couldn't make videos, but I just got demoralized because I couldn't figure out what the problem was. I could not for the life of me figure out what the problem was. I thought it was an electrical hum, and so I was trying to do things that would try and isolate it, and nothing seemed to work until one day when I was doing a test. This was a couple weeks ago now. At the recording of this, again, I've been busy with work and other things. Um, I was doing some tests, some audio tests, to try and see, because I had some extra time and I was trying to figure out what the problem was, because I would like to record again. And I just couldn't figure out what the problem was. And until I noticed something, is I have a headset, and of course, like a lot of headsets, it has an arm on one side of the headset with the microphone on it, and when you flip it up, it mutes the microphone. Now, something I noticed is I had that up. I was staring at OBS. Is I had the arm up in the mute position, but my microphone on my laptop here was still going, was still like picking up audio in OBS. And then it hit me is I had in between, because I believe the first 2 episodes of the new series sounded okay, but then the next two didn't sound okay at all. And so, excuse me, I couldn't figure out what the problem was until it hit me. I'm fairly sure I had updated my computer, which I'm going to have to do again here because it's Windows 10 is end of life here. So I'm going to have to. Anyway, that's a different topic entirely. I had updated my computer, and I think this is what it was. Is I had updated my computer in between recording those episodes, and I believe with that update, what had happened is Windows had reset or had done something to my audio drivers, and so that's my kind of current conclusion. I'm not exactly sure, but I did a bunch of troubleshooting with my audio to try and get it to work again, and what ended up working, because I think the audio should sound better for this video. What ended up working is I had to delete my audio drivers and reinstall them. So that was fun. Because my laptop was not picking up the microphone in my headset, it was using its inbuilt microphone, which is okay, but not really that great. So the audio should sound better, and my audio problems are fixed. So I can record again, and I plan to when I have time. I do want to do more for the Killborn Combat Group series. It is fun. I would like to do more Megamech stuff because you don't actually see a lot of people doing Megamech. You see a lot of people doing BattleTech stuff because BattleTech is popular again. But you don't see a lot of people doing like Megamech content. I mean, there's a few. Casual Joker does it. There's a few other people who do kind of long form like Mech HQ Let's Plays, and that's mostly what I'm going to do. I don't know how much longer the Killborn Combat Group series is going to go. I would, of course, like to actually get the unit off of Killborn, and I will get that series to a relatively good point before I switch over to the next version of Megamech. And the next version, which is 50.07, I think is going to be the next one. That one is going to add in something that I think a lot of people have been waiting for, which is it adds in a reputation system, but then on top of that, it adds in the ability to be a pirate. And I would very much like to play as a pirate. So, when 0.7 or another version gets to a kind of a good place, I will move over to that. When the development cycle for 0.07 gets stable, I'll move over to that. But until then, I will get the Killborn Combat Group series along as far as possible. I'm not going to play until end of the first Succession War because that's like 30 some years. It's going to be like a 90 episode series at the rate I'm going. Because I'm like 3 months into that campaign, so I'd like to get a few years down the line at least. But anyway, so that has been my woes, my audio woes, lack of time, audio problems. It's all compounded into not being able to record. So, but I am recording now. This is just kind of like a Where Have I Been episode in all reality. But I thought I'd do something because I have been doing other stuff in the background, even though I haven't had the time or kind of will to record. I have been doing other stuff in the background, and one of them is, you might notice that I have something here called the Truth Seekers. Truth Seekers is kind of the working name for my mercenary unit that I'm using for Ill Clan, which is the most current BattleTech era. It starts in 3151. It's an era I'm very interested in. It's an era I would like to see more from, because I started to get into BattleTech about 2020, 2019. I started to really get into it 2020 and 2021 during the pandemic because I had a lot of time. Even though I was going to college, I had a lot of time because everything was locked down. And so, being a nerd, I filled my extra time with doing nerdy things, like doing BattleTech stuff, um, looking at lore and whatever. And so I got into IlClan because it's the most recent era. It's how should I say? Well, it's the most recent era. It's, it has current content releases. And so I was learning about IlClan. I learned about all the BattleTech eras. A lot of people, when it comes to BattleTech, kind of like cut it off about clan invasion usually, but I think that's boring. I'm not saying clan invasion is boring. I still think clan invasion is probably the best era. But I like IlClan. IlClan and even late Dark Ages has a lot of really good stuff going for it. And I find it really interesting, and I wish more people would be interested in it as well. Because there's a lot of interesting things, whether it's like tech or lore or characters and stuff. But something I have mentioned, I think I've mentioned it. My favorite faction is Comstar. And I might make a video about it at some point about Comstar, about why I like Comstar. But I really like Comstar, and you can play Comstar in almost every era. You can play it in you can play it in the Succession Wars, and it's really funny to play Comstar in the Succession Wars because they still have a lot of the good equipment. So you can bring like SLDF mechs into like Succession Wars against the Succession War downgrades, and it's funny. Playing Comstar in Succession Wars is hilarious if there's no tech restrictions. But anyway, but you can play them in Clan Invasion. Of course, there's Battle of Tukid. There's the Civil War era, and then there's the I won't call it the J word. It is the Blakist era / if you listen to Mechfrog, it is the kerfuffle, the word of Blake kerfuffle. Which I also think is an interesting era, because I also like the Word of Blake. I like Comstar. I like Word of Blake. They're really two sides of the same coin, because they're basically the same faction in a lot of ways. But then Comstar kind of stops being a thing in the kind of Republic era, and then it comes back as kind of like a secret cell. Real Comstar, because Comstar is like a disarmed corporation post Blakist era. And but there's a secret cell called the Blessed Order that tries to, is working to kind of bring back the old Comstar. And they have some interesting lore and equipment and all sorts of weird and wacky stuff for the Dark Age, or Dark Ages, I should say. But then they end up getting destroyed. Sorry, I had to clear my throat there. But they end up getting destroyed, and unlike a lot of factions that have gotten destroyed in BattleTech, Comstar has no successor faction. So what I mean by this is there's a lot of factions that don't exist anymore, but do have places for their players to go. So a good example of this is the Free Rossalhog Republic. The Free Rossalhog Republic eventually goes away. It merges with Clan Ghostbear and becomes the Ghostbear Dominion / Rossalhog Dominion. And now I know there's a lot of Free Rossalhog Republic fans who really don't like that. This is an aside. Who really don't like that, but I don't really get it because it's basically everything the Free Rossalhog Republic was, just plus Clan Ghostbear. But anyway. I really like Comstar, and there's no successor faction for Comstar in the newest era. and there isn't going to be one. Now, you could say Clan Seafox is kind of a successor faction, but I would not touch Clan Seafox with a 10-foot pole. Not only because they have mega plot armor, but also because they're not really remotely similar to Comstar in really any way other than they kind of handle the HPGs. So I'm kind of in terms of BattleTech and what I want to play in BattleTech. I'm kind of homeless, you could say. I don't have anywhere when it comes to like an Inner Sphere faction, because the clans I like still exist. So I like a lot of the clans. They're not really the main factions I'm interested in or want to play. But Jade Falcon is still a thing, and I like Jade Falcon. I like Wolf a little tiny bit. I like Wolf just because it was kind of the first clan I liked when I started to get into the lore. And I like Goliath Scorpion / Scorpion Empire in the kind of newer eras. So, but in terms of Inner Sphere factions, I mostly stuck with Comstar because it was my favorite Inner Sphere faction. I like the houses, but less so. So I don't have a faction to play in Ilclan because there's no successor for Comstar or the Word of Blake, because the Word of Blake still technically exists, but it's left the Inner Sphere and is unplayable. So my plan essentially was to make a Comstar themed, or at least a vaguely Comstar themed mercenary unit that would use mechs that theoretically Comstar had, among other things, and then I would play them as like a mercenary unit with some more details. I won't go into all the kind of fan fiction fluff because I don't think anyone is. I mean, I might make a video about it just to kind of get it out there, but for the purposes of that's not that important. But they're just a mercenary unit and vaguely Comstar themed, and what it allows me to do is it allows me to not worry about painting my mechs in Comstar colors, or sort of Comstar colors. And so I can still, because I do have the physical models, so I can still play them in Ilclan without having to like worry about it being kind of weird or anything. But the current working name is the Truth Seekers. Kind of like less than a paragraph explanation is it's a bunch of like former Republic soldiers and other people related to the Republic or Comstar who have banded together and kind of go off to be explorers and mercenaries and stuff. It's not quite like it's kind of halfway inspired by, and I will admit this, it's kind of halfway inspired by Mech Frog and his new Explorer Core series, which if you haven't seen it, I would suggest watching. It's kind of like an audio drama. It's really good. It's really good if you like Comstar and you like the Explorer Core, and I was kind of inspired by that. But instead of leaning on the exploration side, it leans the Truth Seekers, who I'm thinking about renaming to the Star Striders, but I'm not quite decided. But my unit leans more towards the actual like combat mercenary side. The exploration side is secondary, and it's mostly about kind of like looting battlefields and stuff for equipment, for old equipment. So one of the things is the unit, you probably won't see a lot of like current era mechs in the unit, just because, or if you will, they're not going to be like the main focus. So like a good example here is this Black Knight 6B, which is of course a Star League Royal mech. It's the same mech. If you've seen the episodes of the not the Truth Seekers, the Killborn Combat Group series, I have this same variant of mech in that series. And you could say the two things are connected because essentially this is the same mech. Adrian Kincaid here is a descendant of the character in the Kilborn Combat Group series, and it's the same mech. It went from SLDF service to Comstar service, mothballed, and then it got brought out of mothball. Served up until the Blakist era, and then when Comstar was kind of dissolved, it was put into hiding by Adrian's grandfather, and then after the Republic fell, Adrian finds this mech and some other equipment, and then that forms the kind of initial nucleus of this mercenary unit, and then he goes off to essentially find other SLDF caches or Comstar caches or secret bases and stuff out in the inner sphere and periphery to build up a mercenary unit, and maybe along the way he finds the and maybe along the way, I haven't really decided on this. Maybe along the way he kind of leans a little more into the religious side of Comstar. But anyway, that was more like the like paragraph and a half instead of less than a paragraph explanation. But anyway, that's enough of my rambling. I will make more videos. And this one is just a real basic one. And I thought I would do just a little 1v1 battle here so that there's something somewhat interesting to watch. Now that the rambling is done, I'm going to quick check. Okay, 20 minutes of rambling. So that's great. Sorry for that. But anyway, so I will, I think everything's good. I'm going to start this. So just a quick explanation here. This is in relation to something else that I was writing for fluff in this little narrative thing I've been doing in my, you could say, free time when I haven't been recording or doing other stuff. And we're going up against this mech, of course, Star League Vintage is going up against a actually somewhat recently produced Grasshopper 8K. Has 4 light PPCs, a ER large laser, and LRM5. Yeah, it's a pretty good mech. It's a little more mobile than our mech because it has jump jets. It's a pretty good mech. I like the Grasshopper. It's kind of a Kurita mech. I'm not going to fire anything because nothing would be in range. So let's see here. We are getting pretty close here. So I will move up here. Let's see here. Get the range high to low. I think the only thing we'll be able to fire here is the PPC. We're going to get kind of walloped. This is a kind of a close range mech against a long range mech. Actually, we hit that. Hit that shot, so that's pretty good. So we'll move there. That gets us somewhat closer into short range, but it gets our large pulse lasers into range, so that's good. So we'll fire off all that. This Grasshopper is not having a good time. We actually rolled a crit on the CT here with the PPC, but it didn't do anything, and we missed with the pulse lasers, of course. Yeah, I'll move right there. What is Grasshopper going to do? Grasshopper is going to do some strange maneuvers. I'm not quite sure why he's right there. But I'm not going to complain. Fire 3 medium lasers. I'm going to hold off the PPC. PPC on this mech, I've played the Royal Black Knight quite a bit. Really the main kind of focus of the mech is it's kind of a close-in brawling mech. The ERPPC is really for taking shots while you get into range with all of the other weapons, and then once you get in range with the large pulse lasers, you hold off the ERPPC and then fire with the medium lasers. So we did pretty good damage there. We did get hit once. We are doing very good damage. He's overheating pretty hot. He's pretty hot. 8 heat is. He's getting a bit toasty. So we'll back up the slope here. Fire both large pulse lasers, and again 3 mediums. Oh, so we did get hit a couple times. We hit him back. But this little duel here is based off a duel I wrote up, and maybe again if I make a video about this unit, my own nerdy ramblings. It's essentially just a duel that happens very early in the kind of story. It's based. Much of this is kind of based off of what I was doing with the current season of Rogue Tech Online. Which, if you don't know what, a quick aside here, if you don't know what Rogue Tech Online is, it's for the BattleTech 2018-2019 game made by Harebrained Schemes. It's a very good game, but there's a big kind of like total conversion mod for it called Rogue Tech Online. Adds all sorts of stuff to it, not to get too far into the weeds. Makes the game harder, adds all sorts of equipment, extends the eras out from the Succession Wars. And it has a kind of asynchronous multiplayer aspect to it called Rogue Tech Online, which I've played probably far too much of. And the current era was Ill Clan. So I was very excited for that. And I played Truth Seekers Mercenaries in that season. Played it for maybe 2 months, I think I played. And I was writing RP for it, and so a lot of the stuff for this unit kind of comes from me doing that in that Rogue Tech Online series. So some of it is probably going to get tweaked when I go back through it. But anyway, so I was playing as a mercenary on that asynchronous multiplayer map. And this is based off an early RP story I was writing. But anyway, but I had stopped playing. I was kind of not happy with where the season was going. There was some very, very annoying things happening in that season, and I have a kind of low tolerance for that nowadays. After playing it again far too much, and then also I stopped playing because my cat passed away, so I was real broken up about that. I thought I was going to come back and play it, but then I stopped playing for like 2 weeks, and then I kind of thought about coming back to play it, and my thought was like, I really don't want to play Rogue Tech anymore. It was like my cat passed away, and I had zero interest to play it. I moved on to other things. I didn't stop playing BattleTech. I just moved on to other stuff. That wasn't Rogue Tech. But anyway, not to dampen the mood. But this duel is based off a story. Again, this duel is based off a story I wrote where the Truth Seekers are trying to, or the unit that would become the Truth Seekers, are trying to kind of capture a facility. And it's guarded by a small group of mercenaries. One of the commander of whom is in this grasshopper, and then our intrepid hero here fights the grasshopper, the enemy commander, in a 1v1 duel. So I'm going to fire all the medium lasers. I'm going to hold off the small laser though. We got hit a couple times. We hit with one large pulse and missed with everything else. Awesome. That grasshopper is overheating something fierce. I'm going to back up here. Interesting. Alright, I'll fire like that. Oh my god, am I gonna fail this? You got a crit on the engine. Unbelievable. Actually unbelievable. He's in a strange position where basically I can't get out of line of sight from him. So I'll fire the 2 large pulses like that. Oh, critical hit on the upper leg. Oh, and he fell over. Good. Gets what he deserves. So we're both crippled mechs flailing at each other. Guess I'll move there like that. Fire at him. I'll hit the left torso. Oh, well, there he goes. We hit and crit the ammunition, which takes the mech out. Actually, is the mech destroyed? It doesn't look like it's actually destroyed. It looks like it might just have taken heavy damage. Yeah, it just took heavy damage. If I just look at the mech here. Yeah, this mech is messed up something fierce. It didn't have case. If it had case, the mech would probably be destroyed. But it just had case 2, or it had case 2. So the mech took pretty heavy damage, but it survived. Yeah, it takes 95 damage. It redirects the ammo out. Ammunition explosions are very dangerous for mechs that don't have case or case 2. Case is not as amazing. That's another thing I might make a video on, is the recent BattleTech playtests, which I did do stuff for the first playtest, and just a kind of short opinion on the playtests. I haven't done anything with the second playtest yet. The first playtest I'm not exactly enthusiastic about. I know a lot of people like the changes. I don't like them at all, really. I don't like the side. I'm not as. I don't really mind the side hit table changes. So in BattleTech you have 3. In tabletop BattleTech you have 3 tables when you roll to hit. You have the front rear torso, or front rear to hit table, and then you have the left and right side tables. And of course the left and right side tables are for if you're on the left or right side of the mech, whatever you're firing at. And they're removing those left and right tables and just using the front and right, or the front and rear table. And then if you're on the side of the mech, so if you're on the left side of the mech and you roll a hit and you hit the, say, right arm, You just convert that into a left arm hit. That's essentially the change. I'm not like a huge fan of that, but I don't mind that. I do mind the ammunition explosion change. The ammunition explosion change caps ammunition, unprotected ammo explosions, and other internal explosions at 20 damage, which I don't like because it means mechs are much more survivable, which of course they realistically wouldn't be. For anyone who's seen a tank explode when its ammo gets hit, a battle mech is a lot like that. So that I don't really think that's how things work. But fire some weapons here. We hit the head. Funny. I think this mech is probably gonna run. Oh, we'll kick him as well. We missed. I guess we'll just stay there. Oh, he might be running away. Did we win? Let's see if we can catch up to him. We might not be able to. Or if he does something like that, we definitely can catch up to him. Although watch, he's gonna like double head hit the Black Knight here and just instantly kill the mech. Let's fire all the medium lasers at it. Oh, he blew off the left arm. And then just hit with the 2 pulse lasers and didn't do much else. We're just gonna alpha strike with all the medium lasers. Let's see if we can kill the mech. We did. Medium laser to the center torso finally takes the mech out. Overheating. This is actually somewhat appropriate because the story I wrote basically had the mechs. Both mechs were severely damaged, and then the last kind of alpha strike from the Black Knight killed the grasshopper. And the Black Knight shut down. Although in this case, I don't think the Black Knight shut down. I think it successfully avoided the thing. But anyway, so I hope the ramblings were fine. I hope the little 1v1 mech battle was enjoyable. And just to kind of sum up the video, I have fixed my audio problems, at least I believe I have. This video should sound better. If it doesn't, I probably will just release it anyway. But it should. I did some test recordings and things sounded okay, so this should sound fine. But anyway, so this will release soon-ish, and then we'll try and start recording more series, more episodes for the Killborn Combat Group. I'm probably going to have to go through and I'm thinking about re-recording the audio for that one episode, so the next episode of the Killborn Combat Group might be post. Its audio might be post. But the episodes after that will just be normal audio. Let's see here. So I'll do that, and then there might be some other videos I've released just as kind of like one-offs or whatever, where I, either ramble about Comstar or ramble about the little fan fiction stuff I do, nerdy fan fiction stuff I do in my free time, or I might do little Mega Mech battles like this, just little one-off Mega Mech things. There might also be another episode of the Dol Amroth series that comes out. I know, shocking. But there is an episode of that I do end up if I can speak English for a second, that is recorded and is partially edited, but I need to finish editing that. So that's another video I need to edit, but I haven't recorded any new episodes for that series, so that's an old one that just never got released, and I just kind of found the recording for that. But anyway, so this video doesn't get too long, I will leave it there. Again, I hope this video was enjoyable. I hope people who watch this look out for the new videos that I release whenever they end up getting released. And I will see you next time.